Ben Smith. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much, mi hermano. Gosh, it's been 4 years, at least 4 years now since we worked together.
Yeah, for the benefit of
Yeah.
the audience, Ben and I worked together at Altisource during, I think, one of the craziest moments of the company. Ben was working over at the asset management and brokerage side of the company. I was working on the property preservation side of the company, and so we became friends. And you were kind of my customer. I was helping you, getting homes ready to be sold, right? And so a
Uh,
lot of what I was doing was helping you doing your job, and a lot of things were broken. um, but I think that we quickly realized that one of the keys to success was to build relationships and mend relationships and just talk to each other, right?
yeah. Gosh, I think we even did some staff exchanges and like extended team swaps. Flew some people to Dallas and some came to Atlanta, and it was good. It was good. It was hard, but it was good.
Very good, brothers in
Yeah,
arms in times of war.
that's right.
Ben, today we're going to be talking a lot about the real estate industry, operations in the real estate industry, how technology has changed the industry over the last years, what comes next, and your role and your view of the industry, right? But I want to get started with the basics. What do you do today for a living?
Yeah, so today, leading operations for a PE-owned national property services company. So all that is our actual company name is Services. We got a Spanish domain for that, and then our primary line of business or service delivery channel is through lawn.com, which is actually probably more widely known than services. So
Very good. And so you are leading everything in operations from
mhm.
uh, underwriting to giving the loans to property preservation tell me more about what
Yeah.
it entails, right? Everything that is
So
up
this,
for you.
yeah, totally. This different than sort of where we worked together, which was a lot of bundled services related to property. We're really specialists, and so our focus is single family rental market. We do still have consumer business. This lawn.com started as a consumer lawn care business with the idea of scaling it, and um, I think quickly realized the opportunity and pivoted a few years ago to focus on property management companies and the single family rent, and actually we now service several built to rent communities, and so most of my career around real estate has had, all these different flavors mixed in, and so this is really more of a specialist opportunity addressing a real what I think is a real problem coming from property management. Coordinating lawn care and preserving your asset through you know, all the transitions that happen in a rental. I think it's a key service and key problem to solve for companies.
Very good. And if we go back on memory lane, when and
Hmm.
how did you get started in real estate?
Oh my gosh. Well, so um, I I could probably I hesitate to say birth, just because I don't remember a lot from then. I can tell you that certainly in the early 80s, I remember riding with my dad, and he had a real estate investment firm for over 40 years. And, uh, and so really all sorts of real estate, shopping centers he did, and eventually we worked together much further in my career than when I was 12, but it was really good, sort of baseline exposure to the value of real estate and also how diverse it is. It's there's just so many sectors that are ripe with opportunities. So
Man, I wish I could just travel back in time, be in that car, right?
mm,
And just listen to some of the advice that your dad was giving you back then. So tell me a little bit about that, right? What did real estate mean to a 12-year-old boy? Uh,
wow.
what do you remember from those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what resonated with me through my dad certainly is that real estate being a tangible asset is important, um, and there are a lot of different ways to look at it, and that is, you know, that's one of the most interesting things about valuing real estate and understanding opportunities. You can take a blank field, which we did a couple of times, and you can turn it into townhomes, multi-use development, and it used to be a cow pasture. And so it takes a little imagination and then a lot of discipline around numbers. And so one of the things that I mean, always sticks with me from my dad, and he's still living. I don't want to talk about him in past tense. So he everything that he looked at, he would always say to me, "It's all in the numbers." Like there's a lot that you can do here, but it's all in the numbers. And so I think that that sort of sticks with me, whether it's in operations or when I look at investments or act on the behalf of an investor. I really focus in on the numbers. Just because there's so much you can do with a property doesn't mean you should. And so, trying to understand highest and best use and best outcomes, I guess.
So there are many things you can do with a property, and thinking about different opportunities. The
Mhm.
imagination part, it's the easiest part. It's the execution of the numbers that it's the most difficult.
Right. Well, and that's yeah, there are a lot of great ideas, right? And not all of them make get great products or great developments. And certainly, there are a lot of great ideas for services that don't maybe take root and are realistic in being able to scale and duplicate. Um, so yeah, I think you always have to have your imagination tempered by, okay, how do I not lose everything on this? And it's experimentation, right? I think the best part of it is you're experimenting with something that has, at some level, some tangible inherent value because it's there, right?
Um, is there any room for failure, or you have to get it right? I mean, how costly is the failure on a real estate type investment?
Well, so so it can cost you everything. It really can. But that's not to say don't try. I mean, there are things, you know, n- nobody saw '08 coming, but it came. And for operators like my dad and I at the time, you know, you can make very prudent investments. We had condo developments back then that, we required 20% deposit, where other developers were taking like $1,000 reservation and holding your check at a nightclub, and so you can do all the right things, and there are economic conditions that, just happen. And that's, it's just life. And it's not fun, and it can be really painful, but it is the risk. So
And you also need a lot of, it's an industry that is capital intensive. You need a lot of leverage, right?
yeah,
Your ability to obtain financing is key as well, right? The
absolutely.
relationships to do that.
Absolutely. Now there are some non there are related things that leverage the same type of I don't know, expertise and awareness and analysis, but they aren't actually developing or owning the property, that are much lower capital investments and can be, anything technology. If done right, you've got usually, you know, some direct investment, but should be low capital requirements, on an ongoing basis. So there's again, there's so much you can do in and around real estate that it's just you've got to find sectors where you can have impact and then go make your dreams come true. So
So it's amazing. I talk to a lot of people here in the show, and many of them end up doing what they do because of an accident, because they were trying to do something else and they find something different, and then they fall in love with whatever they are doing. Now, you kind of started very early, and you wanted something in real estate very early. Um, would you say your 12-year-old person will look at Ben today and say, "Oh, that that's kind of where I wanted to go," or not, or
no,
how
no,
would you
no. He'd
evaluate
be
that?
like, why aren't you playing with Van Halen? Like that's what the 12-year-old would say. Um, and uh, and so yeah, I mean, I think at that time, all things considered, I would have preferred being a rock star. And I'm not even sure that there's a 50 something version of me. I'm not 57, 54, but there's a 50 something version of me that still absolutely wants to be a rock star. So
Very good.
maybe when I grow up. So,
Yeah. what um what do you like the most about the industry?
you know, um, I think it's so broad and vast because when we talk about real estate, you can talk about property, um, and then that's got several flavors, right? I mean, vacant land, uh, you know, commercial, residential, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but you can still be in real estate and be in property management or development, construction. I've done, gosh, I think, and I feel fortunate because it's just this amalgamation of what at times felt like a really random set of skills, but it ended up being pretty broad. But I think about, you know, development. I had a building contractor's license, and built some homes, mortgage, title, which led to loan modifications during the downturn, and then REO. Um, and then I think one of the most interesting and experimental stops so far was iBuying, with Zillow. That I think if I ever write a book about my life, I think that experience will get a whole chapter because it was just amazing. And then you know SFR property management, unique challenge for property managers. All the homes aren't in one area. They're usually scattered. And so, um, yeah, field services, there's so much, and it's still real estate. It's pretty cool. So,
So you've done so much. You covered a lot of the spectrum. Is there any part of the spectrum that you wish you could get into that you have not done yet?
um, you know, uh, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, honestly, I think if I see it, then I'll probably pursue it. Um, I think there may be things that aren't even thought of today, in and around real estate that could become a valuable part of it. And so I think I'm always going to learn. I'll probably never stop working, and um, I enjoy picking up all of the nuances of what we do, and then trying to find similarities across things is, for me, that's sort of the secret sauce is, you know, how is this like the other, and then just apply the experience. And so that's, I don't know, if I were going to develop again, if I had that risk tolerance, I would 100% do build to rent. There's some folks that are doing it really, really well right now, um, and I love their product. Resi Built. Well, you know Jay Bice from Altisource. The product they're doing at Resi Built, it's beautiful. I've walked so many of their homes, and uh, just really such a cool concept for investment. Basically flat apartments. It's wonderful. So
I've seen a few of those in a few places, and they look very good. Let's go back to iBuying because it seems it's
okay,
very close to your heart, and it also takes us to changes in real estate and technology in real estate. So tell us
yeah.
more about what the project was about, what your role was, and kind of the history of the project.
Yeah, well, so we work together, and I heard from a recruiter at Zillow, and it was one of those, hey, do you want to talk to Zillow? I'm like, you say Zillow? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then it was I believe one of your prior guests, Aaron Cuny, that I ended up interviewing with, who is also an Altisource alum, but we didn't really interact there. And so 13 short interviews later, I was hired on as the GM for the Atlanta market, and it was the whole iBuying challenge. I think is it's an amazing concept. It'll get there one day. I still believe in it as a product, and I think we talk about capital intensive, and that I think given Zillow's focus, they made the right decision. I mean, they at scale, I think our top month, we were buying around 800 homes in Atlanta. And from the time I got there, which we were at 100, then COVID, then it was like somebody poured gas on the fire, and we just took off, and it was an amazing experience all around. Best company culture I've been fortunate enough to be part of, and um, just a really cool leadership journey as well. So
And the program was about utilizing Zillow's algorithms and the estimate and everything to just find whatever homes were a good idea to just buy,
well,
renovate,
so
flip, or what was the whole objective? Buy, renovate.
yeah, there are a couple of different flavors of iBuying and models, and what I think I anchored to with Zillow's model was, the whole objective was to speed the transaction. Uh, I want to sell my house and then go buy a house, and similar to taking your car to Carvana, or ordering, getting your car picked up and a new car dropped off, all done seamlessly online. That was sort of the ambition, and really more of a transactional model than some of the others, which are, some are still doing well, and they do a value add where they take, and improve the property. I think the approach for Zillow was, given the number of visits to Zillow and leveraging their reach as a consumer real estate platform. I mean, um, being able to transact home selling and buying on the website was important, and then all of the support services. I've heard, and there's some folks that are friends from Altisource that are with the Zillow closing services still, and then their mortgage division is doing really well right now. I still listen. I still listen. It's like a stalker, right? I mean, I still listen to the earnings calls, and I think I'll always be in their corner, whether I work there or not. It was just that kind of a experience. So
Is that the future of real estate? We keep bringing things online. It's weird, right? Because we're talking about real estate being a tangible asset
mhm.
that you want to go visit and see. But yet again, we are driving so much of that process online. And that is making everyone's lives easier at the end of the day. What do you, when you think about the future of real estate, do you think that's where we're going to go, continue, and what is going to remain offline? What
Yeah,
is your mind?
I think the persistent challenge, and this is somebody will solve it, and this is where I think generative AI, to me, has the best shot at solving this riddle about value. And so, if we go back to sort of real estate school and the classic definition of, how much is my property worth? Well, it's what a willing seller and a willing buyer can negotiate the value is, right? So like, and it's so emotional. And I think that's the toughest thing in any of these sort of predictive models that aren't as complex as generative AI. And still, it's the sentiment and the value of sentiment is going to be a really hard thing to put a price tag on, because somebody can blow your entire model because their spouse says, I have to have that house. I don't care how much you offer over, the asking price. That's where our family's going to live. And I mean, if they've got the funds, they'll pay whatever they have to pay to get that house. And so I think that's the biggest challenge in completely removing, some of the, I don't know, the art of appraisal, I guess, is probably the most appropriate term. But other than that, any of the services and transactional stuff, we made such gains sort of across the industry with, started with mobile notaries. So then you didn't have to go to a title company, and now you can do online notarization. And, as we get closer and closer to, retiring probably some of the more arcane methods of transacting real estate. I think as they get modernized, it's just going to improve the experience for everybody. But
And so value and the fact that value is emotional. There's an emotional part of it. Um, what role do real estate agents play today, and what role will they play in the future? And what are your thoughts on some of the recent rulings on commissions, etc., and how is that going to affect or not the industry?
yeah, listen, I think there's, for somebody like me, I just need somebody to help fill out the offer paperwork. Like I don't need a higher level of service. Um, but most people, and this is what I had to remind myself when I was in mortgages many, many years ago, is gosh, why don't you understand this? I do 7, 8 of these a day. Well, because I did 7 or 8 a day, right? That was 32-year-old Ben, not always the sharpest tack, but I think as a counselor and a coach, helping somebody navigate the stress of home buying, especially if you're buying for your family, and we still have an inventory problem, so there's always pressure to spend more than you should, or that you feel you should maybe. And so that adds an additional layer of anxiety. And so having, a knowledgeable real estate agent that can sort of coach you through that, I think it's an incredibly valuable service. And, with commissions, it goes back to what's that worth? Well, I don't know. I don't know how much help you need. If you need a lot of help, it's probably worth a higher percentage than if I'm just filling out a couple forms for you. you know, and I don't want to get hate mail from any ages, but I mean that, if I'm a consumer, that's how I'm looking at it. How much help do I need? And if you're paid on commission, then you know we can figure that out based on the service you're providing.
So we keep going to the emotional value and the stress. It's one of the toughest decisions that we make in life, or things that we go through in our life, right? Choosing
Yeah,
a home, buying a home. It's one of the most important. It's probably the most important financial decision that we make.
absolutely.
So yeah, you I think you hit the nail in the head, and I will agree that there's a component there that I don't know. Now maybe we get proved wrong, or maybe like you say, AI. Maybe now we get, you know are we going to get real estate agents that are superpowered and supercharged by AI, or are we going to get a real estate agent that is simply an AI tailored to exactly, understand everything about our lives, and so therefore what we are looking for, right? Because an AI
Yeah.
could learn everything about our lives past, story, et cetera, and what we're looking for much faster than anyone else.
Oh, they can assimilate all of it, and I think it'll be a combination of the two. Uh, you know, in its infancy right now, there's some cool things happening. Um, I subscribe to probably too many newsletters, but it's one of the first things I do, and when I'm working on in the morning, I'll sort of scroll through any hot topics I want to know more about, and like 3 out of 4 headlines right now in most trade publications are about AI. And I think, and this is just, my way of looking at it, I think as a tool, it's exciting. When it comes to relationships, um, there is nothing like having somebody that's knowledgeable and I guess in your corner and can make you have a real emotional reaction. And, we may get to a point where, you feel like you're just walking through the halls of a Star Trek ship and, can just talk to the computer. But I don't know that that's so natural today. It's more, asking, push pull type of stuff versus, you know, like a real, I don't know, guide through the process, somebody who really advocates and can read your emotions along the way. But we may get there. Listen, what we're just over a year into Chat GPT, and it's already iterated so many times on itself. It's pretty amazing. So
It's I think it's going to continue progressing. I talked to a lot of CTOs, and um most of them believe that it's even more powerful than we realize, and that the most powerful stuff, it's not even being released to the general public, right? And so they believe
yeah,
that it's already more powerful than we know. um
I am one of those sick like front edge early adopters. I'm like, give it to me. Just let me work with it a little bit. So
it's I mean, I think it changes everything, right? I was talking, so we have clients on the prop tech space, right? And I was saying, hey, I really want all of our teams to be more of a strategic partner. So all of us should understand about, more about the industry. And we're talking software developers, right? And sometimes they don't care about, prop tech or the business or etc. Right? I'm saying, okay, what's the business our client is in? What are their OKRs? How are they making money? What matters to them? What are the trends in prop tech? What
yeah,
what cool things are happening that could be used for this? And no, well, we have to investigate. No, no, no. It takes you 3 minutes with chat gpt, and a five times going back and forth, and you're going
yep,
to get everything you need, right? I mean,
yep,
the time excuse is like, hey, you just gotta put your you know you just have to want to find the information,
yeah,
and to have a little conversation with the system, and it's going to get you there. Everything is out there and available, and it's for you to have critical thinking on kind of digest whatever you're getting back. But it's like someone you can keep going, giving instructions, and hey, no, more of this, less of that, more of this, less of that,
Yeah.
and keep getting to what you need.
It's amazing. It truly is. And I think for every company, finding the right application within their model is key. Um, because I do think somewhere in every company there is value in leveraging it as a tool. Um, yeah, I've got a couple target areas that we're starting to work on that are pretty exciting. And from a service delivery standpoint, being able to, really leverage the power of AI, it's pretty exciting stuff. So,
So Ben, do you consider yourself an operations guy? You did so many things, right? If you had to define yourself like very quickly, what would you say?
um, I mean, ultimately, I think the best compliment I ever received was from a COO, and he called me a utility player. Like you just plug them in. It doesn't matter where, you just plug them in. Now, I have some limitations. I don't deal with anything with blood, but things other than that, I mean, I'm a pretty quick study, and I really tend to boil things down to what is it like that I know, and and then I fill in the gaps through a lot of reading and interviews and you know just watching others. So
You said something early on, that you keep bringing things back to numbers. How
mm,
does that apply to your day job? Is it about having the right KPIs, measuring the right things,
mhm.
learning the story behind the numbers, acting? What does it mean to you to stay, to really understand the numbers?
I think, and this is everywhere I go. I think one of the key things, whether it exists or not, is validating like here's what we want, and are we measuring that? And I know that we've got 90 other measures, but are we, one, paying attention to things that aren't important because we're missing the important? And so I think really honing in and uh, I don't have any secret sauce or any methodology that's um, some patented process. Ultimately, I look at everything and say, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Like, is this our goal? Are we performing or not? If I can't see that, then we have to create that measure. Um, if things, if we're paying attention to things that aren't related to what we want to be doing, we either stop doing them or stop focusing on them. And, really creating clarity around a very simple, 2 to 3 measures that say, are we on track or are we not? There's a lot of methodology around breaking things down outside of that when you're not, right? And there's some, secondary and tertiary things that you track and measure for improvement. But at the end of the day, if you're hitting all your goals, you're performing, and then you can iterate on process improvement and raising those numbers. But a lot of times, you don't, you, teams are out of balance and this team's goal is this or they believe it is, and so they're measuring a lot of X, and the company is like, well, we're measuring Y. We're not doing well, but the team saying we're doing great, made a lot of phone calls. Well, but we didn't resolve anything, right? And so it's sort of bridging that gap, and I talk about simple a lot. Simple is never easy, and so but is 100% scalable. So
So do you think, I like what you're saying, keeping things simple, focusing on what matters. But you know, in your experience, and you were saying something about it, do teams typically operate like that, or do you find like, in your experience, 5 out of 10 are just measuring something that doesn't, or they are measuring too many things or the wrong
yeah,
things or whatever? and people are start playing a different numbers game, right? A kind of
Yeah.
a defensive play of these numbers look good, so
Right. Well, sure, if you measure it that way, it does look good. Because I'm excluding all these other things. Yeah, I think it boils down to and for me, this is where it ties into executive roles, right? Um, mission, vision, what your company does, and the outcomes that, as a result of doing what you do, are expected. Like those are your most important measures. That's your barometer before you dive into all the hundreds of ways you can dissect it. And I mean, you and I both worked with plenty of really talented black belt Six Sigmas, and like they'll tear it apart. They'll find the defect, and that's great. But the most glaring thing is if the 2 to 3 things that the company should be producing or performing, if you're not hitting those numbers, now you go down the path. But I find that there's a lack of awareness at every level of the actual, sort of top objectives. And that you mentioned OKRs. I think one of the things that Altosaurus did incredibly well was the OKR cadence, and just really, really rigorous and structured, and kept everybody accountable. It was a very, very good experience. So,
yeah, when done the right way, it's a very, very powerful
yeah.
methodology. So many times in operations we talk about people, process, technology. Um, what are your thoughts on that, right? Let's say you're given a team,
Mhm.
and now you have to figure things out. Where do you start? What comes first to you?
So I love that question. It's because a lot's happened. Like, I probably would have answered this different 20 years ago because I would have said, oh my gosh, technology, you got to have great technology. Everybody has great technology. We basically all have the same tools. It's, are you a Google shop? Are you a Microsoft shop? Right? I mean, do you do Salesforce, Dynamics, whatever. And there's no product placement going on here, by the way. But I think that used to be such a differentiator, right? And you'd show up at a company, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a great tech stack. Like I can be more efficient. At the end of the day now, and I think it probably was always this way, but maybe, obfuscated a little bit by technology disparity, people. I mean, you can build a great process with all the great controls on the best tech stack. And if you don't, and I'll even take people a step further, but if you don't get the right people in the right seats, um, support them, give them what they need to be successful, um, and then listen to them and build a great culture. That's the key to operations. The other things are, it's rules and then tools. But when you get the right people in the right seats, things work, even if the other things break down. So,
How do you find the right people?
gosh, I think so. It sort of goes back to the KPI thing, right? One, you have to know what you're doing and what you need people to do, and if you're ambiguous in your requirements for hiring, and you don't clearly understand what they're responsible for, and the tasks that they have to complete as a part of their role, or the output that they have to generate, you can do a lot of trial and error. There are a ton of nice people, there are a ton of very smart people that could be a wrong fit because you don't understand what's really needed for the role. So the onus really falls on an organization to define the role very clearly. And I one of the best I mentioned 13 interviews at Zillow, and that's not an exaggeration. It was exactly 13. And they were all great. But Zillow's premise on hiring is we were going to hire the right people. And so in our review sort of cadence and system, the ratings were uh, ready for promotion, performing, discuss job fit. Because the belief was we hired the right person, we just put them in the wrong job. And so that for me was sort of transformational in looking at hiring people. Like, you got to get the job requirements absolutely defined, and then hire the right people. And if it's not a fit, it's on me. So,
It's a good way to think about it. And typically, when I ask this question, we go right into, okay, these are the questions that I typically like asking in an interview and in there, but nobody really talks about, taking one step back and being like
mm.
certain about what you need, and communicating that effectively and defining scope effectively. I mean, I like where your mind is going. Um, what were the biggest challenges that you faced in your career?
Oh, so I've had a bunch. And I think that um, because of the way careers work now, it's the rarity is going somewhere and staying for 20 years. Not that I wouldn't have. It's just, it's a very dynamic industry we're in, and we've had some pretty significant ups and downs the last couple of decades. And so, um, I think I've had some pivotal moments that were important, um, unexpected, but important. And the downturn of '08 would probably be one of those inflection points. And I had to rapidly figure out how to translate this sort of entrepreneurial mindset and figure out how to wedge that into corporate structure and show my value, and without losing the sort of multi-hat wearing, entrepreneur in me. And so I feel like that was a good transition from '08 to about, I don't know, 2010, 2011, and then built some really cool teams and had incredible people around me. But oh gosh, we all go through this, right? We survive bad leaders, bad cultures. Um, there are layoffs, and I think um, had two layoffs within basically a 1 year span, pretty impactful. And then the not totally unrelated, as a result of probably a lot of this career, vacillation, you know, the personal side or personal impacts of these transition periods, then going through a divorce. And so um, there's always the next big challenge. And so like I'm pretty simple-minded around this, and I'm gonna share, I guess, my very sophisticated third grade football coach advice. It's we're either winning or learning. And so in each of these sort of periods that something either unexpected or expected and finally just hit me, um, I take inventory. Like, what do I need to get out of this to turn it from a loss into a learning? And so, it takes a lot of shapes and forms every time. I got a master's in, I was missing a lot of tools managing at scale and leading large teams, and found myself in Colorado managing a really large team that we ramped I ramped up like 1,100 people in 4.5 months. I don't know that there's enough energy left for the rest of my life to do that again in the way that I did it. But just an amazing time for growth and tough. And I needed better tools, and because I didn't want to lose the opportunity to keep leading that team. And so I did. They got to be a petri dish all the way through my master's, and I experimented all sorts of cultural things, and um, it was fun. And I think people benefited, and I certainly did. Um, but yeah, there's all sorts of pivots that happen, and you decide, am I going to lay down or am I going to keep going? And that's not a question that I ever ask because I already know the answer.
It's funny because it's like you're a train that is not stopping. But it's not like a bullet fancy train that it's coming like wow, all fireworks, whatever. No, it's like you have a cadence, and I've known you for a while, and you're always patient, and you listen, and then you talk, and I don't remember you raising your voice or something like that. You never do that. Um, but you keep going always. It's like a superpower. I think I don't know if you realize that, right? But just being able to keep going and being able to just have that mindset of you're either winning or you're learning. And whatever hits you, it's like, okay, what do I need to get up? What do I need for my next step? How do I evolve? Right? Okay, I was an entrepreneur. Uh Financial crisis. Oh wait, okay. I need to transform myself. How do I do that? Right? It's an amazing mindset. I want to congratulate you for that because it's I think it's inspiring, and it's something um, just to remember, right? To remember when hard times hit, that they will, right? I mean,
Yeah,
everyone has faced a huge challenge in their lives, and I was talking to someone the other day who said, and if you're listening and it didn't happen yet, I'm sorry, it will happen someday,
right, right.
right? But I love that. Where do you think the real estate industry is going?
Oh gosh, I talked a little bit about the single family home inventory shortage, and that goes all the way back to '08. We still have not been building at the same pace that we did pre-downturn in '08. Probably wisely so in many ways. Home builders aren't building 3, 4, 6, 8 months ahead of time or more. They're keeping it pretty close in. And so, I think that's, a fiscally responsible thing to do for home builders. We just either need more home builders or, some of the cool solutions that have come out. I mentioned ResiCap, Lennar Homes, and American Homes for Rent. They're all doing build to rent, whole communities, and so I think that does a lot of for the inventory shortage, but it also helps support some of the transition that happens with homes where maybe we don't want to be selling a home every year or every 2 years. Maybe we want to use these build to rent communities to get our feet wet on what home ownership is like, and then find where we want to live, in a more permanent way. I don't know what the impact will be, but I do know that it can consistently changes. And, I've seen some other cool models come out, sort of parallel to like an Airbnb approach to shared home ownership and things like that. There's shared vacation rentals. I think Picasso, who's another former Zillow person there, and some really cool experimentation going on. And you know, as consumers, we all benefit from that experimentation, you know. And so I'm glad it's being done, and just professionally, it gives me additional flavors to always watch and enjoy and maybe participate in someday.
Yeah, it's exciting times. I always, you know, I don't know about you, but it feels like things are changing faster and faster,
Mm.
and it's just interesting times to be alive.
It is. It is. That's every time I turn around, one of my kids is older and taller, and so yeah,
Same here.
it's
Same here.
everything's screaming by. I just decided I'm gonna stop aging and just hold right here. So,
Ben, one last question to you. What do you do when you are not working?
ooh, so I mentioned my kids. So I have three kids. My daughter, I have a girl and two boys. My daughter is getting ready to go to college in the fall, and here in Georgia, but far away. I mean, relatively far away, I guess. And so I spend we have date nights every week. Like that's really important. And in fact, she's coming over tonight for dinner, and trying to spend every last minute I can with her before she goes. For gosh, so many reasons. Like, did I give you advice on this? And you gotta watch for that. But she's also such a cool person that it's just she's a joy to be around. And then my two boys, all three play sports. So during the fall, like this is Georgia, it's all football, and so that's sort of the kid side. Single, had a crazy adventure this last fall and filmed a was cast in a dating reality show that'll launch. I know, I know.
That's enough for another
I was
podcast.
debating whether to bring it up.
No, dude. I mean, we are, you know, let's do another episode. I was going to. I always end this. I when I enjoy this so much, it's like, hey, let's do this again sometime. We
Yeah,
had to do one just to talk about that. Give us
sure.
the headline. Give us the headline and the title for that episode.
Well, I may or may not be in all the episodes, and I may or may not have made it to the end. So, have to
Oh,
tune in to see. I know, and it comes out this. They haven't released the cast yet to everybody, so I can't say the name until I can. And so, in the next couple weeks, they'll announce it. But it's
oh
a
man,
NBC production. Yeah.
man, I'm going to time the release of this episode so that you can mention.
Well, I'll give you a hint. It is on Peacock. It is a royalty celebrity
Wow.
type of dating show. Royalty is more about the title, but it is dating celebrities. So it's crazy. It's crazy. We'll definitely
Had a good time?
have to unpack it.
You had a good time doing it?
Do I?
Did you had a good time filming and dating
I
and
had an amazing time and made a couple really good friends. The other men on the show were amazing. I mean, just really sharp leaders, and it was the, the dating was fun, and uh, I'm still single, so may not have ended the way everyone would expect, but made great friends with a really sharp singer, and she's doing amazing things right now. And yeah, it's so cool. It's I'm really excited for it to come out because I think we conduct ourselves like adults, and so uh, we'll see. It may be boring, you know, that we're not backstabbing each other, but we weren't.
you were behaving like true adult humans. Very good. I love it. I absolutely love it. We'll talk about that. Ben, this has been amazing. Amazing.
Oh, thank you
We
so much.
we we worked together, we became friends, and we have been out of touch for a while. And this
Yeah,
was a great opportunity to just get in touch again and learn more about each other. I will we will do another episode. I appreciate you so
I would
much.
love it. Yeah, thank you so much.